If you're an FPS gamer, you've probably heard of the new arcade shooter XDefiant. You might have heard the many times this game was called
the Call of Duty killer,
the COD killer,
and you've probably heard just as many times this game called a laggy, buggy mess. And you've probably heard something about Netcode in there somewhere too. Now look, both sides of the aisle, the stands and the haters, have factual basis to their arguments. But with Season 1 dropping tomorrow, I want to give you guys a few reasons why I think you should give XDefiant a fair shot. I mean, it's free to play after all. Firstly, every weapon is viable once you get some attachments. If you want to run and gun with SMGs, laser people with ARs, become a movement demon with shotguns, a quickscoper, or maybe you just want to run around with a deagle, like me. While there's definitely a meta that top players are all following, in casual 6v6 matches, you can go crazy with pretty much every gun in this game once you get the right attachments on them. Never did I think I'd be standing the pump or the auto shotty, especially when I was leveling those things, but once you get the choke barrel and the hipfire laser, you start really having a blast with these guns, even with them feeling inconsistent at times. Level up your guns and get some attachments on them before you say they're bad. Whether you're a casual or competitive player, this game's got you covered. The game is great for just hopping on for an hour or two for some low stakes gameplay where you just run around and get some kills. When I play COD casually, I usually end the session with anger and the more than occasional Alt F4. I feel fatigued by the matchmaking COD puts me through in pubs, man, ever since MW19. When it comes to XDefiant, it's simple. Once you find your groove, it's hard to quit. I find myself playing just one more game over and over again, even back to the beta. The game is so simple, but doesn't really get old. Maybe I'm just simple. Sometimes after getting the high score of the match, I think I'm still on COD and get that sinking feeling that the skill-based matchmaking was coming to humble me next match. But then I just keep getting top scores nearly every match, and I realize this game doesn't punish me for improving at the game. If you're interested in competition, they've got ranked too, and 4v4 is actually my favorite way to play this game. The matches become a lot quieter and more intense, where every gunfight means so much more. If you're into competitive FPS, give ranked XDefiant a shot, especially if you can get a squad together. Plus, we're getting new stuff every month. If you look at the roadmap, you'll see that for every 3-month-long season, we're getting 3 maps, 3 guns, a new faction, and likely a new mode or two every single season. This means that every month, we're getting a new map, which is genuinely insane, and I'm really enjoying the maps we've got already. The new maps, Clubhouse, Daytona, and Rockefeller all look incredible. I can't wait to jump in and see how they actually play though, but I've got a lot of faith in this team's abilities to put out new maps. Plus, a new faction and 3 new weapons dropping every 3 months is actually pretty fast, but not too fast to flood the game with new stuff that may need a lot of balancing after their release. All this new content already being confirmed means we're taken care of for at least the next year, and by then the amount of maps, guns, factions, all will have doubled. This is a game that even if you put down for a while, you'll always be able to pick up and have the gameplay still feel familiar while having a bunch of new stuff to try out. Not to mention new free cosmetic challenges for gun camos and maybe even faction skins to work towards every season. Now, XDefiant's a blast to play, the most fun I've had in years, but it's not perfect. But the good outweighs the bad for a lot of us out there. The servers feel cheap sometimes, and this isn't a every now and then issue. This is the most talked about issue with XDefiant. Dying behind corners is consistent and feels especially terrible when you're trying to utilize movement to go in and out of cover. This issue is game-changing, it's persistent, and it's surely the dev team's #1 priority to fix, with this being the only real tangible blemish on an otherwise great game. And yet, it doesn't stop me and many other players from enjoying the good of this game. I complain about dying behind corners probably once a match, but I'm having too much fun for the rest of the time for me to uninstall the game and put it down for good like I've heard some people say. Another tough thing for new players is that most weapons suck at level 1. This is part of the game's free-to-play strategy. It's their idea of progression, but it can make new players severely outclassed when matched against kitted weapons. This is why you should stay in the new player playlist until level 25 and focusing on leveling the AK, the M16, or the P90. Just try to level up 1 or 2 at the start so you can level them as fast as possible. And after the changes the devs made to EXP gains, the early levels are a lot easier to get through, especially with double XP tokens and during double XP weekends. There's also a few ways out there to get free weapon XP tokens, either through watching XDefiant Twitch streams for 30 minutes a week, or by claiming Ubisoft tokens through the launcher through challenges. This might be a wild take, but I personally think they should make everything unlocked in the new player playlist. they gotta at least give the new players a taste of what the guns feel like at full strength before they force them to level up their guns against fully kitted ones. That way, early on, you can try out any gun that might interest you with all its attachments while still leveling up the gun for after you leave the playlist. That way, when the player comes out of the new player playlist, they've sort of got a goal to work towards already. They can start unlocking the attachments for the fully kitted weapon they were using in that new player playlist. Another thing people complain about are abilities feeling too strong sometimes, but really that's just part of the game. Every faction has good abilities that feel powerful to use, with plenty of counters that I've highlighted in my faction guides. Plus, when you're using the abilities, they feel really fun to use, which is important for the game, and I think the devs are constantly working to keep that balance of fun to play versus not fun to play against. It's a tough battle for every game that tries to experiment a bit within the genre. Some people will always call Valorant's abilities cheese too. Thanks for listening to another one of my XDefiant Yap sessions. We just hit 400 subs and are pushing for 5, which is insane. Thanks to all you guys out there for subscribing. Special shout out to subscriber number 367, Vishal007. If you want a special shout out at the end of the next video, subscribe and drop your sub number in the comments. And check out my channel for faction guides, weapon overviews, more Yap sessions, shorts, and more. I'm also streaming on Twitch, starting around noon PST until 6. I'm going to be going hard starting Tuesday for Ranked Season 1, so come say what's up.